All right, let's just get right into it. If you've ever had that sinking feeling in your stomach during an outage, just frantically scrolling through a never-ending wall of text logs, you know the pain. You are, my friend, debugging on hard mode, and it's time to change the game.
So look at this. On the left, you've got your classic log entry. It's basically a story, right? It's meant for a human to read, one line at a time. But on the right, well, that's the exact same event, but it's not a story. It's data. It's a clean, machine-parsable stream of events. And that one little shift in perspective, it's the key to everything.
So let's really dig into that pain for a second. Why is debugging with plain text logs like trying to find a needle in, I don't know, a continent-sized haystack?
And this just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't some theoretical problem we're talking about. This is the frantic, middle-of-the-night reality for so many engineers. It's slow, it's stressful, and honestly, it's just incredibly inefficient.
And here's why it's such a liability. I mean, you're stuck relying on these brittle, fragile, regular expressions to parse anything. You completely lose the ability to trace a single user's journey through all your microservices. And when an incident hits, every single second you spend trying to manually piece together that story is a second your system is down. It's a fundamental blocker to doing modern observability.
But there is a fix, and it's a profound one. We have to stop thinking about logs as these big, messy text files and start treating them like what they really are, a stream of queryable events.
And that brings us right to the core concept, structured logging.
You know, it's actually pretty simple.
Every time you log something, you do it in a consistent format, like JSON. So instead of just some random string of text, you have clearly defined keys and values. This right here, this is the aha moment. On the left, a standard Apache log. If you want the status code, you gotta know its exact position or write some crazy regex. On the right, it's just status. The data describes itself. You can ask for the IP, the method, the path, all by name. No more guesswork.
But you know, just switching to JSON isn't quite enough. To make this really, really powerful, every production log needs a consistent set of essential fields. And here's the crucial part. Think of your logs like a contract. Every single log entry from every single one of your services must have these fields. You need a standardized timestamp, a clear severity level, the name of the service that made it, and this is the big one, that request ID.
And let me tell you, of all these fields, that request ID, sometimes called a correlation ID, is the absolute superstar. It is the golden thread that lets you tie together every single action a user takes as it bounces between all your different services.
And once you have that request ID, the way you interact with your logs it's fundamentally different. You stop searching and you start querying.
Here's what that looks like. On the left, you've got a command line nightmare that's going to break if a developer adds one extra space. On the right, you have a clean, readable query using LogQL, maybe in a tool like Grafana Loki. We're just asking a simple question. Hey, show me all the errors from the payment service. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's robust.
Okay, so now let's use that superpower. Imagine a user reports a problem. We get their request ID. Step 1, we query our API gateway logs for that specific ID. And just like that, boom, we see the exact moment the request entered our system.
So where did it go next? Well, we just changed the service name in our query to off service. We're using the exact same request ID. And there they are, the logs from the authentication service for that same user session.
And finally, we trace it all the way to the checkout service. In 3 simple, readable queries, we have just followed a single user's journey across a complex microservices architecture. This is the kind of thing that's practically impossible with plain text logs. This is real observability in action. Okay, so we've got our structure, we've got our IDs, but what should we actually be logging? This is where log levels become absolutely critical for managing the signal versus all the noise. This table is basically your cheat sheet. Error? That's for when an operation completely fails, like a database query. But what about a failed login because of a wrong password? Well, that's a warn. It's an expected failure, but it's something you might want to track for, security reasons. And info is for significant business events, like a successful payment.
And here is a crucial piece of advice, a public service announcement, if you will. Debug logs do not belong in production. They are incredibly verbose, they create a massive amount of noise that hides the real signals, and they will drive up your storage costs like you would not believe. Just keep them off by default.
So what does this all actually mean when the pressure's on? Let's walk through a real-world incident and see the dramatic difference this makes. The alert fires. A user is on with your support team saying their checkout failed. Your boss is pinging you for updates. The clock is ticking. What do you do? Well, the old way? You're SSHing onto multiple servers. You're running these complex grep commands, piping them to awk and sort. You're manually trying to piece together a story from a sea of messy text. Maybe 45 very stressful minutes later, you might have a leave. And the new way, you just ask the user for their request ID, you paste it into Loki, you see the entire flow, from the gateway to auth to the exact error in the checkout service. The problem is identified, the root cause is found, the whole thing takes 90 seconds. Look, this isn't magic, it's just good engineering. And here's your path to get there. First, pick a library that outputs JSON. Second, add those correlation IDs to every single request. Third, standardize on your essential fields. And finally, ship everything to a central system where you can actually query it. So, I'll just leave you with this question. The next time that 3 a.m. alert fires, what's your reality going to be? A frantic 45-minute treasure hunt through a bunch of text files, or a calm, focused 90-second query that gets you straight to the answer? The choice is yours.